Hi guys, this is gsn1.com and I'm here with a review of the UMi Plus E, one of the most affordable 6GB RAM smartphones out there, and we're dealing here with a big metal phablet that was launched in November 2016 and it's priced at $269 right now on gearbest.com. You can see it as an affordable alternative to the OnePlus 3 or maybe even the iPhone 7 Plus, judging by the design, especially the facade. So UMi is a company that's working in 20 countries right now. They've been around since 2014 and they have quite a few quality devices. This is the UMi Plus E. It's made of 6000 series aluminum. It has a 3D polish, and one of the downsides are the plastic lids at the top and bottom. Otherwise it's all metal all around. We get a 2.5D glass panel at the front, quite good looking. We have the home button which we can actually press, and it's a beefy phone and quite well built. It's reassuring when held with two hands in landscape for gaming, while one hand usage is rather so-so because it's such a massive device. You'll be having a hard time controlling it with a single hand. Now, as far as the measurements go, this one measures 8.2mm in thickness and weighs 185 grams. It's basically 3 grams lighter than the iPhone 7 Plus and about 1mm thicker. In the end, it's got a solid build, it's got the looks in the front side, but it's still disappointing when it comes to those lids at the back. Otherwise, quite well done and solid build. Now, as far as the screen is concerned, it's a 5.5 incher with a sharp panel, LTPS, and it's got a Full HD resolution here, as well as 95% NTSC color gamut. We also have something called real-time contrast adjustment, and the bezel size is quite okay in my book at least. We do not have a video player, a dedicated one, so I'm going to have to resort to the usual gallery. We go here, play our usual test video, and the conclusion: we have very vivid colors, borderline oversaturated. The image is bright and crisp, we have wide view angles, and let's see what the pixels did for us. So under the microscope we had an arrangement of RGB striped pixels, and then when it came to the brightness test we achieved 376 lux units, which is rather okay, but not at the level of a modern flagship. At least it beats the LG G5 and the AllView P9 Energy that we tested recently, for example. I should also mention that this result scores below the Huawei Nova Plus and the LG G4, and in the meantime we can also go to the settings dedicated to the screen. So we got the usual MiraVision setup that lets you use the following modes. We got the standard mode, vivid mode and user mode, and the user mode has a ton of sub-settings: contrast, saturation, brightness, sharpness, color temperature, dynamic contrast, as well as blue light defender. I recommend keeping stuff on standard. Then we have the brightness level, adaptive brightness, wallpaper, sleep, daydream, font size, cast, and the S-View cover setting in case you have that accessory, plus the G-sensor calibration. In the end, I'm reasonably happy with the screen. The brightness is okay considering the price tag, and no big objection here, possibly only the colors, which can be corrected from the settings. Now, if you want to know stuff about the other hardware on board, we're dealing with a quite powerful CPU, the MediaTek Helio P20, an octa-core chip at 2.3 GHz. We also have the Mali T880 GPU, as well as 6 GB of RAM, sounds impressive, and we also have 64 GB of storage and a microSD card slot. And after using the device for a few days and even a few weeks, I have to say we didn't feel any trace of lag here and no problem whatsoever. We opened up a bunch of apps, played a few games, and encountered absolutely zero problems. So those 6 GB of RAM and the MediaTek Helio P20 processor make a pretty good team. Now let's see what the Riptide GP Renegade benchmark title has for us. It's not an official benchmark title, it's our benchmark title. We've been using it on all phones since it launched to see what its graphic looks like, what the frame rate is, the texture, the lighting, the shadows, if they're in conformity with our expectations. So far so good. This game promises PS3-like graphics, and the phone delivers quite well. I see no stutter, the water is rendered nicely, good speed sensation, nice frame rate, lighting, shadows, whatever you want, it's here. Now let's see if the benchmarks confirm this positive trend. So benchmarks, this means screenshots, and we do have screenshots galore here. I'm going to start, of course, with Quadrant. Well, know that in Quadrant we're placed 11th from all the phones we've tested. We've beat the Zenfone 3 and Galaxy S6, so that's no small feature. And now we go to Antutu 6, quite a solid score. Once again beating the Asus Zenfone 3, but scoring below the LG V20, the LG V10 and the Huawei Honor 8. Now the final test, the one that involves the gamers, is a bit of a letdown. This is 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited. I expected more. 12k points places us below the iPhone 5s, so not exactly impressive. Meanwhile, in Geekbench 4 we had a pretty reasonable score, and I'm talking about the fact that we managed to beat the Huawei Nova, for example, so that's got to count for something. Once again, I expected a bit more from a 6GB RAM phone, considering there are other models out there with this quantity that are big shots. Google Pixel XL, the OnePlus 3 and a few more. Now let's see if the temperature also delivered. So we achieved 31.7 degrees Celsius after running the benchmark GFX bench, so there's no overheating, and after running the game you saw before, which is Riptide GP Renegade, 36.9 degrees Celsius, so once again no overheating and everything is positive. Now let's talk about the battery. So it's a Sony 4000 mAh unit. On paper we are promised one full day of usage or 15 hours of gaming, and with 30 minutes of charging you should get 1 day of use, and the full charge time should be around 100 minutes according to UMi. So I guess it's time to see if the battery delivers or not. And first we start with the HD video playback test in a loop. So we achieved 6 hours and 58 minutes of continuous playback, which is rather weak, especially for such a big phablet. It surpasses the HTC One M9 and Xperia M5, but it's below the Huawei Honor 7 and Honor 8. Meanwhile, it makes up for sure to the impressive PC Mark time, 9 hours and 17 minutes, which is actually placed 14th in the top 100 phones we tested. So this result places us above the Huawei P9 Plus and also the Galaxy Note 5, which is quite excellent, but still below the Sony Xperia X Compact and Huawei Nova, but I would say that being among the first 20 or 15 phones is quite a compliment. So this phablet is able to charge in 2 hours and 25 minutes, which is just okay, not very impressive, and it beats at least the Lenovo Vibe X3, but scores below the charging time of the iPhone SE. Of course, we have options related to the battery. You actually have two sections. There's this one with performance and power saving. We got normal mode and sports mode, standby intelligent saving, and battery saver and battery optimization, which is basically those. And then we have another area. It's called battery saving mode, and it has a bunch of profiles. You have your intelligent profile that clears processes, your marathon profile, sleep, and finally my mode that lets you customize the experience, and also a few other options that allow you to switch the mode at a certain time. So quite a solid result. I'm talking about the continuous usage. The video playback could be a bit longer. Now as far as the acoustics are concerned, as usual we seem to have two sets of speakers. Actually there are two grills, only the right one is the actual speaker. We are promised hi-fi acoustics, and the music player is this one here. It has a pretty old school interface, and it comes with the sound effects in stock manner. We got the equalizer here with genre settings, 5 custom channels, bass boost, sound, surround sound and preset reverb, which are typical options. Now let's actually listen to some tunes and see how they're handled by this speaker right here. Okay, conclusions. So we have a loud and clear experience, a pretty solid bass, some nice high notes, and good acoustics and voice in general. We did not get any headphones with this phone, and in spite of the fact that the sound sounds a bit muffled sometimes, if you mess around with the settings it will be just fine. So we don't have headphones bundled, but we do have FM radio in case you are wondering, and it should be here with a pretty custom interface. We did a decibel meter test, and let's see what came out of that. So we go to download, and here we have the results, quite impressive. So we achieved a result of 81.3 decibels. This happens when we use our typical audio sample. When we do some gaming with Riptide, 90.7 decibels, quite solid. It beats the iPhone 7 but still scores below the Le Echo Le Max 2. And of course we have a bunch of options to enhance our acoustic experience, and those are as follows. We go here, sound enhancement, and there's BS loudness and BS surround with a movie mode and a music mode. Now that we're happy with the acoustics, time to talk about the camera. So at the back there's a 13 megapixel shooter with a Samsung sensor and face detection autofocus, also a dual LED flash that's placed a bit lower than usual. So this is the main camera, 13 megapixels. Now we go to the front camera. It's a 5 megapixel shooter for the selfies, and the camera app starts up pretty fast. It may be fast, but the focus and the speed of focus adjustment is not exactly my cup of tea, should be a bit faster. The focus is also a bit slow and happens in steps, while the capture itself is, well, I would say it's pretty fast. Now the interface is minimalistic and straightforward. It's all black and white, no fireworks, nothing like that. And here you can find effects, negative, posterized, aqua, whiteboard. We've seen them for many years now. Here we have HDR, we have the flash, and typical settings like timer, size, GPS location, face detection, and more. And finally the modes. There's panorama, pro photo, photo, and video. And actually the video goes up to 4K, which is quite impressive but expected from a 6GB RAM phone. In the pro area you can tweak a few things here. I'm talking about the white balance, ISO, exposure, contrast, brightness, and saturation. Okay, we're totally done with the camera. I guess it's time to go to the gallery and see how the camera was actually put to the test. As usual, we took a bunch of shots during the day, during the night. So let's see what came out of that experience. So somehow we started with the selfies. Don't let the screen fool you. The selfies were underwhelming. They were quite foggy and had washed out colors. We also took some HDR shots, which were rather okay, and in general I found images to be a bit darker than usual, but it's winter after all, so that may happen sometimes. The panorama has a resolution of 60:88 over 832 pixels. It's got pretty okay clarity. Once again, it's winter, so that can be excused. We lacked sunlight totally that day. I found the colors to be quite reasonable, and surprisingly, when we zoomed in, the details were quite solid. Or better said, reasonable. Some parts of the pictures had a strange dynamic range, and we got some shades of blue every once in a while for no reason whatsoever. So you can find some bluish areas in these photos. We took some pretty solid close-ups. Here you can find that bluish hue, but the details were quite good once again. You have to be very careful when you touch the screen, because not only the focus will change, but also the exposure. It may cause some irregularities. At least all of the shots were clear. We do not have blurry shots or missed shots here, so that's a good thing. And when we got up close and personal with some graffiti work, things got actually very good. So we started here and we got into a bunch of graffiti that has a very nice texture, which you can see here if you get close up. So things to remember: good details when zooming in, nice close-ups, and good colors in general, but some dynamic range problems too, and the selfies were totally underwhelming. I would put it on par with the Huawei Honor 5X and maybe the Huawei Honor 7, but not more than that, and it's at least above the recently tested HTC Desire 10 Lifestyle. Now this is during the day. During the night time, here we go, we got a bunch of foggy shots. The flash made everything blue. We got huge street lights. Some of the images were pretty yellowish and washed out. Details were rather poor, and we got a lot of blue and violet hues appearing in the top area of the pictures. As you can see, huge streetlight halos and an underwhelming experience. It's below many phones that we tested from China, so nothing special here, maybe except from the color calibration and the building texture, let's say that. Now as far as the video is concerned, we shot 3GPP, 30 frames per second and 17 mega per second bitrate, and let's have a look at those videos. Keep in mind that aside from Full HD, we also have 4K, so that's impressive. Okay, so throughout the videos we had a pretty good microphone, and the zoom quality decreased the zoom, so when zooming in, the quality of the image decreased quite a bit. As you can see, we lost details and the image was shaky. It was shaky all around, not only when zooming. Now let's find a 4K video, because that's a bit better, to be honest. So here we go. I'm guessing this is the 4K clip. 4K in 3GPP is a bit strange, but it handled it like a champ. We had the nice exposure change, solid colors and good clarity, so nothing big to object here, and throughout the videos the microphone remained solid. A thing that I felt often, especially when viewing the videos on the PC, was that the refocusing and focusing made the camera emit a strange sound, and that was a bit annoying. Another video. We also tested stabilization and found it to be, well, reasonable. It's decent, you do not lose focus, but it's also not the best in the world. As far as I know, it's electronic stabilization, so don't go expecting anything special here. In the end, not the best camera in the world, but the 4K video and the colors were quite reasonable, and we only have problems with the focus and dynamic range. Otherwise, reasonable capture for 3GPP. At night is not even worth mentioning, believe me. So let's find a nocturnal video to show here. Should be here somewhere. Here we go. So first things to notice, it moves in frames, actually 9 frames per second, and only 1.5 mega per second. Very poor. A lot of ghosting, and only the microphone is okay. Everything is yellow, blue, ghosting, saturated and strange, so forget about nighttime filming. Be content with the daytime filming and with the 4K resolution. Now that the camera is done, let's cover other aspects. Now, as far as other features are concerned, I'm going to start off with the web browser, which is available here. So let's load up gsandon.com. This is the pre-installed browser, the one that comes from UMi. As you can see, it's not very fast, and it's also confirmed by its benchmarks. I'm talking about SunSpider and Velamo that have pretty modest results. Okay, you can also opt for Chrome. We also have Chrome available here in case you want a faster browsing experience. And as far as the input goes, we get a stock virtual keyboard that's quite comfy, and also comes, well, it actually does not come with swipe support. As far as the connectivity goes, well, we get 4G LTE support. There are dual SIM slots here, dual SIM dual standby system. Both SIMs support 4G. We also have Wi-Fi ABGN, Bluetooth 4.1, GPS. There is an USB Type-C port at the bottom, and with support for OTG as well. Now, as far as the calls go, they're loud and clear and offer a pretty okay noise cancelling as well as a good signal. Here we have the connectivity options, and we also did a speed test, and let's see what came out of that. So here we are with the speed test results. I have to say they're a bit underwhelming. So we achieved a maximum of 68 MB per second download via 4G, 47 MB per second upload also via 4G, and via Wi-Fi 74 MB per second download and 24 MB per second upload. So I expected just a bit better. The 4G is only reasonable, and that's it. Now on the software front, let's see what we're dealing with. So we're running on Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow in a mostly stock version. So multitasking happens via carousel, and you can close all the apps like this. And then we got the drop down section with notifications and quick settings, pretty straightforward so far. If you keep a home screen pressed, you get to the wallpapers and also to the widgets, and the widgets are the stock ones, nothing fancy or special here. And now we go to the settings, once again regular options, all the way to the security, where you can mess around with the fingerprint scanner embedded in the home button. So fingerprint, continue, set up screen lock, you can set up a pin if you want as a backup. And then you will start the setup of the fingerprint, which involves 12 or 13 steps of doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Putting your finger on the sensor and registering your print. Okay, it has been added. Now let's give it a test. So usually first time it requires my pin. So it went reasonably fast first. Second time, changing the angle, not that fast. In the end, while I may seem pleased with this system, it's actually not as fast as I would like it. It's a couple of milliseconds slower than I like it to. Anyway, it does its job pretty accurately, or in normal accurate numbers. Other options here, we also have encryptions, and there's also Harley Quinn LED notification. There's a small LED here that will show red, blue or green light if you get a certain amount of charging, battery and notifications. Other things, that shortcut button settings, well, the shortcut button is actually this little extra button here. So we got the power button, we got the volume buttons, we got the home button and the extra button here, which can have associated a bunch of features. We got the phone, contacts, messaging and camera, and the camera has been chosen so far, so pressing it should result in us accessing the camera, or at least trying to. So let's see what happens now. So finally it worked, albeit much longer than we should have pressed it for it to work. We also have the navigation bar option, and then we got the background task cleaner, which may come in handy sometimes, and you can select a whitelist, and that's basically it as far as the settings area goes. Now the pre-installed apps, I counted 27 of them. Not exactly huge, and that's quite okay. Most of them are pretty stock apps. We got the calendar, Chrome, there's the browser, flashlight, FM radio, file manager, there's the gallery, Play Store, of course, settings, SIM toolkit, and a voice recorder, and that's about it. Now it's time for the verdict. This is the UMi Plus E. It's one of the most affordable phones with 6GB of RAM available on the market right now, and on the Pro side, it has a solid build. It has 6GB of RAM for a good price. It has a pretty okay display and performance, and also achieves a pretty okay result in PC Mark. I'm talking about continuous battery usage, that's a plus. It delivers a loud acoustic experience in songs, and it's able to capture good details and colors when it takes the pictures. Close-ups are also okay, and the videos are, let's say, reasonable for the 3GPP format. It keeps a clean OS and pretty much stock, and those were the pros. Now on the cons side, it's got those ugly looking plastic lids at the back, the top and bottom, and we expected a bit better from the CPU, if I'm being honest, and the video playback time is a bit of a bummer. Also, I wanted better video capture and better low light capture, a better camera in general, and the selfie camera was also a letdown. And other than that, the fingerprint scanner should have been a bit faster. Okay, so now the conclusion, we seem to be dealing with a sort of gamer's phone, because we have a lot of RAM, a solid battery when it comes to continuous app usage, and that spells gaming. It also spells gaming because you can hold the phone like this. It's reassuring, it's solid, it's made of metal, and it's prone for long hours of gaming. Once again, a lot of RAM and a good battery for continuous usage. It's basically future-proof if you take into account the RAM, but the processor, I have a feeling that its full power has not been unlocked yet, and maybe future updates will make it co-work better with the RAM. So in the end, this is the phone you want if you're a gamer, and if you want the camera, well, you should get another phone, because the camera here is not very impressive compared to the rest of the package. This is it from gsn1.com. This has been the review of the UMi Plus E, one of the most affordable 6GB RAM phones, if not the most affordable. Bye bye.